welcome back to the group chat. You can see I'm all by myself here in studio today. No Phil, he has embarked on his journey back to the motherland in South Africa. He's going to go soak up the sun in a surf town. So we have been joined by Goran. Goran, thanks for joining us, mate. Pleasure to have you on. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for having me. Was he unable to get the braai started over here, so he had to head back home? Is that the case?
Yeah, I think he actually needed to restock on some of the meat. So hopefully he's going to bring some back, have us around for the braai when he gets back.
Very good. No, thanks so much for having me, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward, and you're going to be filling in for the next few weeks, I believe.
Yeah, that's the plan anyway. If it all goes pear-shaped or haywire over the next 45 minutes, then feel free to cut me off and get somebody else in. But the plan is over the next 3 weeks, I'll be here by your side, not literally by your side though.
Well, we could try to get you down to Wellington, but I'm not sure. Although we will both be at the Auckland FC game in a couple of weeks, it might be a case of linking up there. I'm sure we'll do something. But with it being the group chat, Goran, I did want to know any weird group chat names, kind of along that sort of things that you've been a part of over your years.
But before I go forth and give you a couple of my options that I've researched for you, Charlie, what's the barometer of acceptability here? Because I don't want to come out and say something that's like horrifically offensive, and the bar is set so low. So what was your one that you gave way back when?
My golfing one was called the Shield.
Okay, all right. So the bar is set pretty low. Okay, so I'll give you my top three. First, I'm a football guy, so Bag on Chelsea group. That's pretty tame, pretty lame. It's basically 4 guys, 3 Liverpool fans on one of them, and one of the other dudes is a Chelsea supporter. So whenever Chelsea do anything rubbish, we just bag on the Chelsea fans. So there's one. Another one was called Fiji 17, but mainly soft porn. And that was a bunch of lads who were gearing up for a trip to Fiji in 2017. And it kind of just descended into pictures of girls that we hope to see on the beach. So, it started off as kind of like trying to organize things, who's taking this, who's taking that, and then, descended into mayhem. But the best one was called the Cancer Society, and it was formed by a bunch of guys who I used to work with who were, let's say, very upset with the actions of somebody who we also worked with who lied about having cancer to try and keep their job. So that's probably the gold medal for group chat names, the Cancer Society.
Yeah, well, I'd say on the podium, you've probably ranked that in order from bronze, silver, gold.
yeah,
for sure. I actually had one, funnily enough, Fiji 2022.
Oh, wow, okay.
Which was a group of 7 of us, and again, started who's organising what we're going to do, plan it all out, who's paying for what when we book the hotels and all that. Which
did it turn into soft porn like mine?
No, not quite the soft porn.
Or was it more hardcore?
Yeah.
Disgraceful.
I mean, if you go through some of the photos on that, but main photos we were taking on the trip, there's probably some that need to be blurred if they were getting put online.
Okay.
So
thanks for sharing.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you. I guess that's a podium finish and group chat names. I like it. Let's go straight through the weekend. We took some bets on the AFC game, who were favourites over in Sydney. I think the biggest one, we had a couple bets at $250, so they're returning a nice 500-ish, not too bad. Someone had $400 on Melbourne to beat the Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
So thanks for that. I think we had a couple $200 bets on the Knicks at $4.50 too, so you're getting close to $1,000 back on that. But the big ones were on the ABs against Italy. I think a lot of people backing them 13 plus, only paying $1.12. But big sweat fest for $2,000 on the line to return $2,200 or something. So $200 what the final score, 29-11. Not quite as convincing as people may have thought. $1,500 on the All Blacks minus 1.5 first line would have been the bet of the weekend, though, because I believe they put that on live just before Cam Roygaard scored to cash it, which ultimately came in. That would have seen a nice return, and one I did like to see, $2,024, weirdly enough, on Tottenham at $1.70 to beat Manchester City. I think they placed it about 38 minutes into the game, so they're up 2-0 at the time. But yeah, $2,024. It's a good return, beating City at the Etihad. Did you?
There are some brave people out there, eh? I just wouldn't even think to like chuck a whole pile of cash on a sure thing. It's just not in my mindset. Like I'm looking at things that are, like I put a bet on James Maddison to score anytime goal scorer Tottenham v Man City, and that came in. But like I'm nowhere near as brave or as courageous as these people. I'm like, $5 or $10, and minimal return.
What was Maddison paying to score?
I think it was $7.50.
Wow, that's good stuff.
Yeah. I just had a feeling. I think it was his birthday, and he scored twice. And it's just nice to see Manchester City continue to crumble. All those weeks ago with Erling Haaland saying, in the face of who was it? Which Arsenal defender? Stay humble. And now we're watching Man City crumble. So crumble to second place. It's hardly a crumbling, eh?
Yeah, but I guess when Liverpool are running away with it at the top, it does feel like a bigger crumble. And especially knowing what City are capable of. But speaking of brave people, $10,000 multi, 6-leg multi on hot favourites came to a crashing end in the NFL with the Commanders losing to the Cowboys as $1.16 favourites. Was the one leg that didn't come in.
Ouch.
That's tough.
That's really tough. And what do you do? Is there like a counselling group that you sort of align yourself with? Yeah, like, well, I almost nailed it, but the final leg didn't come through, and what might have been, talk through all the possibilities and eventualities, and oh man, geez, you'd be so gutted, wouldn't you?
I think that almost what could have been is what just keeps it going, I think because you were so close, I was nearly there. And I don't know if you saw the end of that game or if you're into your NFL, but that was one of the weirdest last 3 minutes of a game I've seen for a long time.
Well, what happened?
The Cowboys stink this season, and the Commanders are pretty good with their rookie quarterback. Expected to win, naturally, at $1.16 favourites, but they were losing. 86-yard touchdown puts them in the lead. Kickoff returned. The Cowboys went and scored a touchdown to get back in the lead. Commanders score another touchdown, missed the point to tie it with about 10 seconds to go, and then the Cowboys return another one. So I think they won by like 8 or 9 points in the end.
Okay.
And that all happened in the last 3 minutes. Crazy stuff for the Cowboys.
Madness. Maybe a bit of spot fixing.
I guess let's just go into a weekend wrap up. Quick fire top moments. Did you have 3 standout moments from your weekend? Could be whatever you did, sport moments, anything you got up to.
We've already mentioned it. Liverpool going 8 points clear. I know it was a little bit of squeaky bum time against Southampton, top versus bottom, but picking up the 3-2 win and going 8 points clear, that was a highlight for me. Watching Man City lose to Tottenham 4-0 and just extend their run of misery was another highlight. And the VAR hub, I don't know if you saw this, Charlie, but the VAR hub had a fire alarm go off in the middle. I think it was the middle of the first half, Ipswich versus Manchester United. And so therefore the referee calls the captains together and says, we don't have VAR. And there's a massive section of the football society that celebrates. They go, yay, we don't have VAR, because it absolutely sucks at times. But it's weird. Like after you've had that safety net for a while, I was kind of like, oh, they don't have VAR. So what happens if there's a close offside that leads to a goal or something like that? But I think the majority of the football world said, yay, no VAR. And just finally, in my highlights, it's not really from the weekend. In fact, it was a week ago. Having Chris Wood back in New Zealand playing for the All Whites, and just watching him with the fans afterwards. I don't know if New Zealanders really get into Chris Wood as much as they say they're rugby players and they're rugby league stars and maybe the Black Caps as well. Chris Wood is over in the UK plying his trade in the middle of the night for us Kiwis back here. But, man, he knows a thing or two about fan engagement, eh? He gets subbed off, and straight away he's over doing autographs, taking selfies with the fans, comes back for the post-match duties, then goes back to the fans. He's there until the lights go out at Mount Smart Stadium, signing autographs and taking selfies. Like, absolute hero, eh?
That's a class act. I mean, lots of people probably don't know what he gets up to over there. And he was, Premier League Player of the Month as well? For
October.
A big old deal.
Yeah.
And he's coming here. That's great to hear. I think I told you my mate Ben Wayne from the Phoenix, he's over now playing at Mansfield, which is pretty close to Nottingham. So he went over and watched the Nottingham game before the All Whites flew out, or the overseas All Whites came back home, and he watched it with Woodsy's family in their box, and then got on the plane and flew out with him. He said he's a great dude. Yeah,
on the Wayne train. So it was a double header at Mount Smart, and I'm coming down the grandstand, and all the All Whites are sat there, and right next to me as I'm walking down was Ben Wayne. And I haven't seen him for ages because obviously, formerly with the Phoenix, then he goes over and does his stuff with Plymouth Argyle, now with Mansfield. And I saw him and I put my hand on his shoulder and he looks up and he's like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And I said, "Man, you're looking big and buff and strong, man. Like you've clearly been in the gym the last little while." And I said, "You got to be careful because like making your body bigger and what it does to your very, very tiny head, your head is getting smaller." And he was just like, "Oh, piss off."
He's always a little
joke. It's just a tiny pinhead that he's got, eh?
But no, he definitely has been getting bigger, stronger. We noticed that when he last came back. And I mean, going and playing championship level football as a striker, you got to be strong and be able to put up with a bit of contact. So
yeah,
it's good to see. It's good to see. I actually had on my highlights Arsenal getting back to their winning ways, which
against
was great.
Woodsy.
Against Woodsy.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. So thanks, Woodsy. Arsenal back on winning ways. Man City, I did have them losing, but since you had it, I'll switch it up. The Australian Test summer is underway. Nothing better than the Australian cricket summer, especially when they lose. So that made it even better.
Yeah.
And then I had the Vegas F1 Driver Championship, Max Verstappen coming to an end. George Russell winning in Vegas. What an absolute circus. And it was at a great time to watch, 7 p.m. on a Sunday. So they were my 3 highlights.
On the Aussie cricket, mate, so full disclosure, I was born in Australia, and for the first little part of my life, I thought I was an Australian, even though I moved to New Zealand when I was almost 5. And so I used to have pictures of Ian Healy and Greg Blewett and Michael Slater on my wall, like literally had them on my wall from the Inside Edge magazine. And now I think back, I'm like, geez, what a punish I must have been. Like,
oh yeah,
oh gosh, and liking Ian Healy, like, is there anyone less likable out there? And like now that I know for sure I'm not an Australian, I watch the Australian Summer of Cricket. Like the commentary team makes it so like it's just sickly sweet. Everything that happens is, oh, what a great shot from the Australian batsman. Or if he's out, oh, geez, that must have been an absolute top-notch ball to dismiss Charlie Wilson. Like, it just has to be like ball of the century. Like it's all favoured to the Australians. It's just
unbelievably biased, and it's so Australian, and it just makes everything so much better. It's actually crack up. I love it. Like I think they had David Warner on the opening day of the Test. I don't think he said a word for the first hour. He must have been so nervous doing his commentary stint, but it was like Ricky Ponting, and you get Scull, Kerry O'Keefe in there. That's just the sound of summer for me.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, how long is it until they have like a sandpaper joke for David Warner? Like, surely Scull's going to rip one out at one point. That's probably why he was silent for an hour.
Waiting for Scull to bring something up.
Yeah. He'll just laugh at his own joke for half an hour as well.
Oh, him laughing at his own jokes has got to be one of the best things. His laugh is so good. I love it. Anyway, we'll come back to New Zealand. I guess we'll head over to Italy to talk about New Zealand. You mentioned you didn't watch the All Blacks.
Nah.
Not a fan?
Oh, mate, when I was younger, I played football and tennis, and rugby was never on my radar. Born in Parramatta, so huge Eels supporter, and rugby league was kind of my thing. Like I would watch rugby league more than any other sport. And so, yeah, for me, it was league, football, and tennis. And you'd watch a little bit of cricket because had a massive hard on for Ian Healy, obviously. But rugby was never on the radar. Only when I worked at Radio Sport for all those years, because you kind of had to. You needed to be up to play with the rugby. And the last few years, I haven't needed to be. So I just let it slide, man. And I think maybe the last full game of rugby that I watched was maybe 4 years ago. I probably watched little bits and pieces of the last World Cup.
Yeah. Not the final?
Like little bits and pieces of the final, and that's it. That was it.
Wow.
So, like it's something I used to watch. Don't watch it anymore. Don't miss it. And as I was sort of like falling out of love with rugby, it was at the same time as poor old Ian Foster was being absolutely lambasted and pilloried by everybody. And I've got a lot of time for Ian Foster. I think he's awesome. And just to see the way he was treated left me feeling a little bit cold, to be honest. I like Razor. I wish him all the best, but I'm not watching.
Fair play. Well, you didn't miss much over in Italy. I think it was 1 degree. Drop balls left, right, and centre. We won 29-11. It was an ugly game. The standout for me was as Sam Cane departed for the final time in a black jersey. Pan to the crowd. Camera's going across. Everyone's clapping, and you see Sevu Reece there. He had his rugby socks on his gloves, and he's clapping like a seal. Have you seen that?
No.
No gloves whatsoever.
Wow.
In the All Blacks setup, Adidas, who knows, but he's got rugby socks on for gloves in Italy.
Well, how is that possible? Surely they've thought of every eventuality, like, we're playing in the heat. We're playing in the cold. Oh, so it's cold this weekend? Yeah, very cold. We're going to have to use our hands to make tackles and throw passes and things like that. Want to warm up those palms and fingers? Nah, I don't think so. Yeah, all right. Well, maybe next year then.
Yeah, maybe when we embark on the Northern Tour next year, but just grab your socks and just warm up yourself.
Yeah.
DIY.
We'll just cut some finger holes or something in them.
Oh, the little ones that like stop at the knuckles?
Yeah.
Ah, terrible.
They're real nice. I mean, terrible. Yeah, real terrible.
So that was probably the highlight of the game. I think in terms of the All Blacks season, you've probably heard bits and pieces about it. People up in arms about Razor, whether he's up to scratch. He probably is. We lost 4 games, 2 to South Africa in South Africa during the golden era. Competitive games too. 1 kind of dropped off against Argentina. Yeah. And then 1 point loss to France was the only loss on the Northern Tour. So I'd mentioned to you we did a report card after the Rugby Championship. Full season report card for me, I was giving them a B-.
A B-?
A B-.
Even with all those defeats?
Oh, I mean, it's kind of past the era where the All Blacks go out there and win by 20-plus points every game, and it's no longer the 90% win record that they've once had. And you got to stick with your team when they lose. Like, you can't just expect them to be winning all the time, as much as it would be good. But a couple losses here and there in a rebuild year, first year after the World Cup. They've brought a lot of people in, some good signs coming through the younger players. So I think there were flashes of moments was enough to get it to a B-.
So what you're saying is rugby fans have lived through the Ian Foster era where they lost the odd game and that was unacceptable. And now that Razor's doing exactly the same, they're used to what was happening through the Fozzie era, and they're happy to apply that same logic that they were upset with to Razor Robertson. That's unfair, isn't it?
I think Fozzie's really softened the blow for Razor, but I think everyone had all these expectations.
I'm sure he's wrapped with that, eh?
Oh, it'd be class. He'd be stoked. But I just think time in the sport where we're not going to go out, we're not going to win every single game like we did under Graham Henry, Steve Hansen. And so then Fozzie's come in. He's been the shifting it in the wrong direction, which has softened the blow for Razor.
Well, yeah. I mean, Fozzie didn't do that badly, though.
No,
didn't he lose a World Cup final by 1 point?
Yeah, with 14 men against 16.
That's pretty good.
Oh, no. Like you said, I have a lot of respect for Fozzie, and I don't think he deserved any of the hate. I don't think Razor deserves any of the hate that he's getting either.
Is he getting hate? I find that quite incredible, actually, Charlie.
They wanted him out straight away.
Mate, he's been loved for as long as he's been in that Crusaders setup. Yep. It seems bizarre to me that people would have the knives out for him almost immediately in that All Blacks setup.
Straight after that Argentinian loss down in Wellington, it was he's not up to scratch on the international standard. He's just domestic bully. He can only do it with the Crusaders, and the reason why we're losing is because he's picked 10 Crusaders in the team, and they came last in Super Rugby, so they were definitely out.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just to do with the cattle and a realization that while we do have some world-class players still, it's just not a totally world-class team. And that's what coaches in the past had at their disposal. And
100%.
So like it's really hard to compare eras, but the one of yesteryear was clearly better than the one of today. And you just need to be realistic about expectations on game day these days.
Which All Black fans find hard to do, it seems. And we've seen.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll park that there. If we head over to Sydney, Unite round, you're for it or you're against it?
The Unite round?
Yeah, the whole concept as a whole.
Okay, I like the fact that they abandoned the Sydney Grand Final no matter what, because I think it was like a New South Wales tourism 3-year deal, and they just scrapped it, right? But they scrapped it in favour of this, and I wish they hadn't done the Unite round. It's embarrassing. Like, outside of the Sydney Derby attracting 30,000, well, look, it was probably going to attract 30,000 fans anyway, right? Because it's the Sydney Derby. It was a ghost town, and you've got, I think, the Wellington Phoenix for a home game playing Melbourne Victory in Sydney. It's just stupid. So I sincerely hope that they don't have any other ideas about selling Unite round to any other destination, because it just doesn't work. And you're better off having teams play in their own city, and if they want to celebrate inclusion of all, they can do it. Like, we can do it any day of the week, any time they play. You don't need to be together in the one city. It looked awful. It sounds awful when there's no one in the ground, and you can hear the players shouting at each other and remonstrating with each other more than the fans in the crowd making noise. Yeah.
It was like watching it during COVID again, right?
Yeah, that's right. Like 20 people in the grandstand. You've got, I mean, what is Allianz Stadium? It's like 45,500 capacity. And you've got
15 in there for the Perth game.
Yeah, what an absolute joke. It's such a bad look, and just another example of the A-League not doing what's best for the game. And, they look at other sports. NRL have the Magic Round, and the AFL do something similar.
Yeah, Gather Round.
Yeah, but they have like massive history in the game in those countries, right? So, I think the Roosters were the first, or the South Sydney Rabbitohs were the first rugby league team in 1908. So more than a century of history there. And you can take every team to Brisbane because it's a rugby league town, and everyone gets into it. But the A-League is just, it's in its infancy, and it's just not going to work.
It doesn't quite have the guts, what's needed there, like Magic, because Magic Round is unbelievable. Have you ever been?
Nah, never been, but quite happy to watch it on TV because you know that the games are good quality and they're well supported. And with that atmosphere coming through the screen, like, okay, it's not like you're there, but you're happy to sit down and watch like 7 or 8 games, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah. That's all just part of it. And I think lots of the issues with the Unite Round was the matchups they had as well. I think the Perth game was on midday for Western Australia on a working day.
Yeah, ridiculous. Like, just think about it. If you're going to do it, like, try and set it up as best for the fans of those particular games.
That's what it's all about, right?
So clearly not a fan. What about you, Charlie?
No, I like the concept. Like, it obviously works for Magic Round. I think they had 230,000 for the AFL Gather Round, and when they had that in Melbourne. But I don't know why. I don't know what they could do to make it work for the A League. I don't see it happening again. I tried to think long and hard about how they could make it work, but I couldn't.
I think it's just time. It's time and it's quality. Like let the competition bed in and get support around it and get it to the point where crowds of 15, 20,000 to your home games are the norm. You don't see that. I know Central Coast Mariners have their issues at the moment, and over the last 2 years, they've basically burnt an entire squad. And outside of Brian Kaltak, they're kind of starting from scratch again. But they don't get big crowds, and they've done so well. They were treble winners last season, and yeah, if your current champions struggle to attract an audience, then don't put on Unite Round.
No. I'd much rather them just put on, like, for one game, or like the Sydney Derby, like they get the fans out there anyway, like you said, 30,000+, and just make that a whole experience. And just, they talked about, because I think there are only food trucks there. They need to have more than food trucks. They got to have player meet and greets. They got to have a whole bunch of activation stuff. If you're actually gonna make it a thing, you can't just be selling a couple of chips and hot dogs. You actually got it. The whole weekend's got to be an experience, I think.
Yeah. And I was hearing that people in Sydney didn't even know that it was on. So the advertising, the marketing around it has to be a whole lot better. But, we're talking like it's going to be a continuing thing, which we certainly hope it isn't. But yeah, like maybe, let's fast forward 20, 30 years down the line, and maybe the A-League is thriving and there are plenty of people watching. Maybe you can try it again, but you just got to do it better.
Yeah. I think it was a 1 year deal, right? Just a one.
Well, I think it was a 3-year deal with Tourism New South Wales, and they had the grand final.
Yeah,
it was all to do with the grand final, right? They sold the rights to the grand final. Then there was a massive hoo-ha. The players, the fans, they all said, "Hang on a minute, we don't want to. We want the ability to win a premiership in our own backyard." So, Costa Barbarouses, for example, he came back to Wellington. The idea of trying to win an A-League title at Sky Stadium, it really appealed to him. And then that was taken away by that deal with Tourism New South Wales or Sydney or whatever it was. So, look, what an absolute debacle, mate. 3 years, I think it was, and we've done our 3 years.
Yeah, so that's done, and that's why I think they bought in this Unite Round. And then I was reading about it, I think it was just a one-time thing that they may look at continuing on, but it doesn't sound like they will.
Good.
Auckland FC, obviously, off to a historic start, but the Phoenix had a good win as well against the Victory. Whose win more impressive?
You tell me, first of all, Charlie.
I think Auckland. I do think Auckland, just because they haven't conceded any goals. That's an answer based on the whole season. You're win itself.
The win itself. Come on, have a rethink. Not that I'm trying to force your hand here and change your mind, but...
Nah, I do think Auckland FC again, just because it's their first game on Australian soil. They've not travelled over there before to play in the A-League. They score their first goal. They still don't concede. They're obviously playing very good football against top-level teams. They're top of the table for a reason. To go over and do that in your first game, I think that does it for me. The Phoenix, compelling argument, and I'm assuming you're going to make one for me here.
Well, yeah, I will, but I support what you're saying because... first time over to Australia, that's not easy. You've obviously got to get these players in the right mindset to do it, the logistics of the situation as well. They haven't done all this before. So to get over there and get the win, highly commendable. But I think the Wellington Phoenix win was more impressive. And I'll tell you why. They didn't have their starting fullbacks. There was no Tim Payne. There was no Sam Sutton. they're up against better quality opposition in the Melbourne Victory, and they beat them. And it was the first time that the Wellington Phoenix were meeting Melbourne Victory since that time back in May of this year, where the Victory came to town and tipped them up in extra time to go to a grand final. So there are all these factors at play. The Phoenix were weakened without Sutton and Payne, up against a decent team. For me, it's the Wellington Phoenix that the win was more impressive. And Auckland. Look, I mean, you can make arguments. We just have for both teams, but
more important. So impressive, but more important to which team?
It was more important to Phoenix because they needed to win to stay in touch. Like Auckland FC, they've still got a game in hand and they're at the top of the ladder. So, very important to the Phoenix, especially I think they've got a week off this week. Very impressive for Auckland because they were also 22 days between games. Going into the international break, they had a week off themselves after I think it was after the first Kiwi Classico, the New Zealand Derby. And so 22 days, more than 3 weeks between A-League games, and then to produce a win against MacArthur like that, really special.
It's a bit of a momentum killer, those international breaks, especially. Or it can go one or two ways, right? If you're in the mud, could really help you out. But if you're winning like Auckland FC were, they're on a 3-game streak, you obviously have the bye, then international break. That could have really stung them.
Yeah, it can probably go one way or the other, can't it? Auckland's case, you have guys like Francis de Vries, Liam Gillian going into camp and bringing that excitement back into Auckland with them. And I think Francis and Liam both had pretty good outings with the All Whites as well. Just not having that cohesion as you would regularly throughout the season. It does interrupt, but I'm so glad that we do get to see the All Whites play, especially here at home. Like in the lead into the World Cup of 2026, it's just nice to see the New Zealanders back home regularly. Like in the last couple of months, we've seen they had a game against Malaysia. I think that was at Albany. They've played Vanuatu and smoked them in Waikato, and then at Mount Smart Stadium the other day, they you and I and 9 of our mates could have probably defeated Samoa or at least put up a decent fight against them. But it's just nice to have them back.
That's good faith in us.
Well, I think if you're connected to Ben Waine in some way, and I used to play football a long time ago, we must have some pretty decent mates that could lace up the boots.
There's also probably a few that only just know because of FIFA and they're good on the controls rather than actually playing. So can make arguments both ways once again. Talking AFC, what do you make of that whole situation, how they've come into the league, what they've done, and just for New Zealand football? Keen to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, they've been outstanding. And there's no other way to put it because they've really breathed considerable life into the New Zealand football landscape. Obviously, the Wellington Phoenix were building something last season and were so close to a grand final. And then you've got them doing so well, and then you insert Auckland and this rivalry and the fact that they've recruited really, really well, not just New Zealand players, but some of their offshore talents like Mai up front. He looks the goods. I love Verstraete in the midfield as well. Absolute beast, eh? Sakai down the flank as well. Dan Hall and Nando Painika. It's a really top-notch squad. They've come in well resourced, and the coaching staff, the playing staff reflects that. And I think in the current A-League climate, they're in the top 4. I know they're top of the ladder at the moment, but when the regular season is over, they've got such a strong squad that they will definitely be top 4. And maybe I'm going early, but and I'm keen to hear your thoughts too, Charlie. But I reckon there are 4 really, really good quality teams in this competition, and they are Melbourne Victory, Sydney FC, Auckland FC, and the Wellington Phoenix. And I firmly believe at this point that the A-League champion will come from one of those 4 teams. And how cool is it to be able to say that about Auckland, a startup team?
Yeah.
They've only played 4 games, but look at how amazing their record has been after 4 games. They haven't conceded a goal, man.
Yeah, and I mean, expectations are certainly high in the Foley family. So, Vegas Golden Knights making the Stanley Cup final their first year.
Yeah.
So, like you said, they're well resourced, and the resources that are there, they know how to get the job done. And Vegas have gone on and won a Stanley Cup since then as well. So, if it's not this year, I can guarantee you, Auckland are going to keep getting the support. I reckon they're in for a championship within the next 5 years for sure.
Yeah, if
like
obviously, like, we're pumping up their tires, and that's great, but you also need to come up with some realism. And like the next couple of weeks will be really fascinating for them. They've got kind of like an easy 3 points against Newcastle Jets this weekend. Then there's the second Kiwi Classico against the Wellington Phoenix, which again is at home, which helps.
Yeah.
But then the Christmas New Year period will be interesting because, I mean, it's an Auckland football team based in Auckland. What do Aucklanders do at Christmas and New Year? They walk away from the city and they go somewhere else. Yeah, exactly. It's just like diaspora. And people are going here, there, and everywhere. And yeah, so while they've done really well to attract the first big crowd on their debut against Brisbane Roar, it was like 24,000, and then 14,000 for the next home game. We will probably just because see a drop off in the support, and then what happens in those times? I think they've got a match against Western United on the 21st of December. That's a winnable game. But if no one's turned up and if everybody's buggered off to, maybe they're going down country to see their relatives for Christmas and there's no crowd and Western United tip them up, maybe they get an advantage there with no crowd. And then they play
to roll off.
Yeah. So, and January 1st, they've got a home game as well. And it's against Melbourne Victory. So top quality opposition. Who's going to be in Auckland to support AFC against Victory on the first day of 2025? So it's kind of like, okay, awesome start. You can't quibble about what they've done. It's been absolutely immaculate. What do they do from this point to continue the momentum and ensure that fans turn up to support this team to make sure that they continue to get those results?
You know what they need to do on that game at the first?
What?
Northern Base, the festival up in Auckland?
Mate, I'm almost 44. I've heard of it.
I was going to hope you knew where it was because I actually don't know how far out of Auckland. But they need to partner with Northern Base. After the festival finishes on New Year's, get everyone there on a bus straight to Mount Smart. You've got a whole bunch of hungover 20 to 25-year-olds, and they can all just get around the port, lift the energy, and they'll beat the Victory, I reckon, if there is 20,000 plus hungover 20, 25-year-olds.
This is something that you and AFC can organise, because if you're going to be there, maybe you can drive the bus back down to Mount Smart Stadium.
They will need a driver. It probably most certainly won't be me.
Won't be you. Okay.
I won't be driving out on the first. No chance.
I'll be floating around, so I could be the driver. You just coordinate everybody, get them on board. I'll drive them down to Mount Smart.
All right. Well, we could work something. I'll check with the higher ups.
Okay.
All right. I do think I was just going to lead into the Premier League, but I think with Auckland, it is a long season. Yeah, they've got experience there with other internationals that have come in who have played lots of football. But like what I've seen and experienced with Arsenal the last couple of years, it's a long season to keep winning. And if you don't have that experience or that extra squad depth, guys who know how to keep winning towards the end of the season, it is a tough ask to get up. So if they can find that, and if they can do that, they'll probably end up on top. But who knows? Because we've not seen it. It's their first season. So
yeah. And you're right. It is a long season. They do have quality. Like at the weekend, they were able to bring Cam Howison on. They were able to bring Scott Galloway on. These aren't kids who have come through the academy. They're top quality players. And Cam Howison would have been playing A-League a long, long time ago if there was a team in Auckland. Yeah. Pure and simple. Like he would be an A-League player. But I'm glad to see that he is now, because we're seeing what he's capable of.
I think that's one of the massive benefits of the mat. It's just an extra pathway for New Zealand footballers to go through, younger guys to aspire to as well, rather than just the one pathway of the Phoenix. And through the Phoenix
No,
Academy, there's another one. And
Liam Gillian,
so,
he's the perfect example of what you're talking
yeah,
about, Charlie, because he wasn't going to be snapped up by the Knicks, and here he is. He's made his All Whites debut in the last couple of weeks.
I know.
And how cool is it to see him ply his trade in the A-League as well? He doesn't look out of place. He's really confident. He's become a bit of a cult hero with his long hair and shoelace and dirty moustache, and kind of looks like he could be your twin brother. But, he's the sort of guy that fans want to get in behind. And, his pathway to the A-League wasn't apparent until Auckland FC came along.
No, exactly. They step in, and all of a sudden the door opens. He jumps in, he takes it. It's so good.
Mm.
Okay, so Man City, we've both mentioned it. 5 on the bounce across all competitions.
Mm.
What's going on? They stink. They stink in second place.
Yeah, I was going to say,
off-field issues all kind of just taking over, or what do you think's going on?
I don't think the off-field issues are causing any problems or headaches for the players. Like, they're all professionals, and they focus on the game. And you know what? If it all turns to shit, they'll just get on the phone to their agents and say, "Can you get me out of here?"
Yeah, I'm
I don't think it's not playing on their minds when they're lining up for a corner against Tottenham. You know what I mean? Like, and they'll be training and playing as good as they can. I think the main issue for Manchester City, you can almost boil it down to one guy, and it's Rodri in midfield. The current Ballon d'Or winner is not there, and he's not there for a long time. And who have they got in midfield at the moment? They've brought back Gundogan, who may be a little bit old, a little bit
on the other side of his career.
Yeah, like he's not as effective as he was previously at Man City. They've brought back Kevin De Bruyne. I think he made an appearance off the bench, but again, he's 33, I believe, and probably winding things down. And there's lots of talk about him potentially going to Major League Soccer in the States.
Yeah.
So, like, if you don't have your top quality midfielder, defensive midfielder, somebody who's going to like roll up the sleeves and do all the dirty work, and I think we saw that against Tottenham. They gifted them really good quality opportunities on their goal, and that's not what happens when Rodri plays, because
he just soaks up all the pressure they need,
100.
distributes really well, and he's their rock.
So if he's not there blocking those routes to goal, who is? And it turns out that nobody is. No. So they need to figure out what the solution is in midfield, because otherwise they're going to get overrun. Maddison was doing damage. Dejan Kulusevski was doing some serious damage as well. He was probably one of their best players for Tottenham. So unless Pep Guardiola figures out that midfield conundrum, the status quo could stand.
I'd say, knowing Pep and what he's capable of, there is probably a solution in there somewhere. He'll be able to find it. As a Liverpool fan, you're probably hoping he doesn't, because 8 points clear at the moment. Arne Slot has got you guys absolutely rolling. Fastest manager for Liverpool to get to 10 wins?
Yeah, it's been incredible. When you think about his introduction with essentially the same squad as Jurgen Klopp, and they are flying. It's been amazing, and I love watching them play. And there's been a little bit of chatter every now and then about Mo Salah and where his future lies, and he's scoring goals for fun, man. Like, it's ridiculous. So I don't want to see Pep Guardiola come up with a solution, but you just know that throughout the course of his career, he's been a solutions guy, and ultimately he wins titles wherever he goes. You know that the solution is coming, and it's a long season. We're talking about the A-League and how Auckland FC might be able to keep up, their start long term. There are 26 more match days in the English Premier League. That's half a year of football. That's a long time for Manchester City to eke into that 8-point lead. It's a long time for players to be suspended for Liverpool, get injured for Liverpool. And the simple fact of of the matter is there's a game this weekend, Charlie, and it's Manchester City against Liverpool at Anfield.
Mm-hmm.
If Man City take the win there, they eke into that lead. They're only 5 points adrift. And you know that there's the return game a little bit later on. So if they can take 6 points off Liverpool, all of a sudden the gap is 2. And you're starting to sweat a bit. So, yeah, you never write Man City off. But it's nice to see Liverpool at the top of the heap.
Well, you can never write them off, can you? I mean, Arsenal leading into Christmas last year, into the New Year last year, but it always just feels like Man City are hot on your toes. They're always coming up there, and as soon as you muck up, they're up there. And it's amazing how your 8-point lead, lots of people are talking about they're running away with it, that they've got a good buffer here, but it also is amazing how quickly that 8 points can just disappear.
Yeah, that's right. And, like Erling Haaland is up top and he's scoring goals. He just needs to find some buddies who want to score goals with him. So it's kind of like two things that need to be resolved for Pep. It's figuring out the defensive midfielder so they're not overrun, and then getting Haaland some help up top, because I think I saw a stat the other day where he has scored 55% of their goals this English Premier League season, where previously he's scored about a third of their goals. And so the supporting acts of like Doku, Grealish and company, they've only contributed 1 goal this campaign. So he needs help. If Haaland is scoring all the goals and he's misfiring like he was against Tottenham, then how are they going to win?
Yeah. Well, because he had some good chances there. I was watching that. City could have been up 2-0 in the first 15 minutes as well.
Absolutely. There was a really important foul, actually. Basuma chopped down Phil Foden inside first 20 seconds. And there was like Man City players flooding forward. And I thought they could have conceded in the first minute. And then how different does the game look?
Yeah, exactly. And Tottenham don't go and score 4 goals more than likely if they're down 1-0 in the first minute.
Yeah.
But that stat is, if Haaland's scoring 33% of the goals last year and the amount of goals he's scored, that means the other guys around him are scoring lots of goals as well.
Yeah.
If he's scoring 50% this year, it doesn't look as good, the amount of goals he's scoring anyway. Mo Salah, I brought this up the other week to Phil. He is a United fan, and then we also tough. Yeah. We've got a couple of Liverpool supporters in here as well.
Good.
Mo Salah, is he a top 5 Premier League player of all time?
I'm a little biased, yes.
Yeah?
Oh, he's been magic since he turned up, and his strike rate is phenomenal. And just when you think he's on his way out, he just gets better and better. I've been guilty of accusing Mo Salah of some pretty ordinary control at times. Like just in general play, he'll misplace passes and just horrible through balls like he's never played football in his life. But then he can come up with a world-class finish from nowhere. Look, he is, man. He's in my top 5.
All time.
Obviously, I'm looking through rose-tinted glasses because I love Liverpool and I focus on them more than anybody else. Yeah. I mean, where do you put him? You're an Arsenal supporter. Like from across the fence, do you go, geez, there's a top 5 player?
Definitely at the moment. I mean, he's probably top 2, if not 1 at the moment. Saka, you can make a great case for as well. Go on assist machine.
Oh, and Chris Wood, you got to put Chris Wood in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, Premier League player.
That's a given. Yeah.
Yeah. So top 3, but I think I was looking at some of the stats the other day, and he's getting close to some of the legends that people would be putting in their top or on their Mount Rushmore for the Premier League. He's getting very close to some of those numbers, both goals, assists, goal contributions across his whole career. If he's not top 5, in my opinion, he's definitely top 10.
Yeah. It's been incredible. What a pickup from Chelsea, eh? It's like one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah. That's Chelsea have been doing that as well recently, picking up a couple. But I mean, you've got Sancho. Is he going to go good for Chelsea after picking up United? Thoughts?
Don't know. I mean, look, It's funny, man. Chelsea went on that massive spending spree, and it was like they were flinging shit at a wall, hoping to see what stuck. They picked up Mikhailo Mudryk, and everyone was like, "Oh man, this guy is so fast and so gifted and so skillful." And what happened with him? I don't even know where he is now. So I know he had a haircut, and he looks like totally different now. He had the long blonde, or sort of like a bit of a, what would you call that? Not a bob, but kind of like an undercut.
Yeah.
And then all that went, and so did he.
Well, thank God actually Chelsea got them, because I think Arsenal was in the hunt for Mudryk as well. So
Yeah, but he could have been a different player for you guys, man. Like if they properly utilised him, like, in the same cases as Mo Salah, right? So
yeah,
Chelsea don't see a future for him there, but Liverpool did, and boom.
and we're seeing that with Sterling as well at the moment with Arsenal. He's come on, he's done a job for Arsenal too. So it's all about those systems. I did want to talk about the F1, and you came back and you said you can't stand motorsport.
Yeah. I mean, I can talk a little bit about it if you want.
What can't you stand about it? I guess
Just everything.
Were you interested or not interested when Lewis Hamilton's always winning? Is it the fact that Verstappen's now won 4 in a row, like you're not seeing any variation, or just don't give a toss for it at all?
It was in my formative years, Charlie. I feel like I should lie down on the leather lounge suite, and maybe you can be my psychologist. My brother, he loved motorsport so much that I decided to despise it. And so, he would have Bathurst on, and I'm like, oh, can I watch anything else? No, I'm watching this motorsport race. Oh, okay, cool. Go out and play some tennis. Come back. What's happening? Bathurst is still on. Oh, that's weird. It seems to be going for quite some time. All right, well, I'll go out and play some cricket against the block wall on our driveway. Come back after an hour. What's happening? Bathurst is still freaking on. Used to drive me nuts. He would play Gran Turismo, like the original Gran Turismo on the original PlayStation. And if I walked across, like he sat there with his controller in front of the TV. If I walked in between him and the TV, look out. So I hated motorsport from a pretty early age, which is ironic given that last year when Stephen McIver was away, I had to do Sky Speed with Greg Murphy for a couple of times. My brother thought it was hilarious. But yeah, it's just something I've never gotten into, man. I'm not a petrol head.
Do you just bullshit your way through that?
I put in the research, actually. I had to watch some stuff.
Did you get your brother to help you out and give you some pointers, or was he just like, nah, you just go do it yourself, I'm going to laugh at you as you go?
He was too busy playing Gran Turismo, would you believe? Couldn't get away from the controller.
That walking in front of the TV, I get that a lot as well. If I ever walk in front, my brother's playing anything, and it's always the head snap to try to get around you, and then and he's talking on the mic, and it's...
Can't you just hit pause? Like, just hit the pause button. You see me coming, like, I've got to get to the kitchen somehow.
And if you keep going back and forth as well, like you just end up just kind of doing it for the sake of doing it. It's quite funny, just winding them up.
Yeah. On like the most important turn on the track, Anyway.
Or like if my brother's playing FIFA, it's always when he's defending or he's about to score. Like if he needs to put in a tackle to defend and I walk past, he'll end up scoring and all hell breaks loose.
Love the niggle. Hey, look, you want to talk about the F1, right?
Also just the circus of Las Vegas. So if you've got any opinions on Las Vegas itself.
Well, it kind of works, doesn't it? I mean, Las Vegas is a circus, so you may as well have the circus of the F1. You got celebrities and people trying to be celebrities, and everything's overpriced, and it kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I think they even had some electronic orchestra as well playing during the middle of it as well, which sounded like a bit of a party mixed with classical music, which
maybe not for everybody, but giving it a crack.
It was George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz all getting in the back of a Rolls Royce to get driven reverse around the track to the podium, and then Max Verstappen gets his own Rolls Royce as well.
Oh.
So it's just a whole different world over there.
Yeah. I did read comments from Verstappen saying he doesn't like all of that stuff. He's just like he's just a racing nerd. He doesn't like all the peripheral parties and games and celebrities and stuff. Like, just get me on the track and let me race.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can understand that. What I can't understand is how his dominance, even though he's won again, how did it dip away this season compared to last? Because, when I was filling in for McIver with Murph, it was around the same time of year, right? And Verstappen had won, I think it was like 19 of 22 races in 2023.
Yeah.
But he's only won 8 this year with 2 to go or something to that effect. So, from your point of view, what's actually happened for others to kind of like eat into that lead?
I think McLaren have just sorted their shit out, essentially, and have just built a fast car, and they've got 2 good drivers that are just piling on the pressure. And I think Red Bull have had some issues throughout the season, which have caused their car to not be as fast as it was last year. And we're going to see the gap close again next year. I think there's another rule or regulation coming in that's just going to tighten everything up. So I think this is just the start of it. And Max is obviously the most talented driver on the track. I think there's that people have been saying if you throw anyone in that Red Bull car, any other driver, they wouldn't be able to handle it. Maybe Lewis, but his car is just so much more finely tuned than, say, Perez, and he can just fly that thing. But I think, they've just had some mechanical issues that McLaren have been able to pounce on. Ferrari have got 2 talented drivers as well. And it's just the pressure. Then again, like we've talked about the long seasons in football, it's a long season, the F1 season. It's a lot of races you got to win, and when it's difficult, it's difficult. So
yeah, just for shits and giggles, I'd like to see a time where the best driver, like the Max Verstappen, gets in the shittiest car on the F1 circuit, and so you kind of like reverse the order and drive someone else's car. We've all driven other people's cars. I want to see Verstappen in the worst F1 car, and how well can he drive it?
See what he can do.
Yeah.
The Mercedes car hasn't been that strong this year. It was quick in Vegas, but Lewis Hamilton started in 10th and then worked his way up to 2nd. So that's a good vintage drive from him, showing what he can do. And when he does get a fast car, he's still got the skills to be able to go and make those passes. But it'd be a good watch.
Yeah. It's just nice to know that the F1 drivers are warming up Las Vegas for the Warriors, eh?
That's going to be epic. That's going to be epic.
What's more epic, F1 in Vegas or Warriors versus the Canberra Raiders?
I think round 0. Round 0 sums it up, right?
Yeah.
I think the F1's only got one more year signed on. I think it was a 3-year deal in Vegas. But yeah, we'll see what that looks like. If we stick to America, do you watch much American sport?
Nah. Look, man, full disclosure, I'm an old man with young kids, and I watch the things that like bring me joy. So that's like A-League, English Premier League, NRL, and then that's pretty much all I can fit into my life. So American sport is like, no, sorry, man.
As well?
What's that?
The kid shows and everything?
Oh, mate. Yeah, like I've watched so much more Bluey than All Blacks rugby over the last 4 or 5 years, eh?
How does that compare?
Bluey's great. Yeah. It's there's something for everybody, actually.
So my question was the tailgating in America. Are you aware of what the tailgating is?
Yeah. I know what it is, and I think the the old defunct Auckland Tuatara baseball team. I'm pretty sure when they were playing out of North Harbour Stadium, they tried doing some tailgating in the lead into their games. But obviously they're gone now.
I don't know if you've seen one in America, but Buffalo Bills, they do it the best, especially during winter. I'm thinking like down at Sky Stadium, the concourse is massive, right?
Sure is,
and they've got nothing going on. Why can't we do something like that for New Zealand sport? Say for a Phoenix game or an All Blacks game. Just line cars up, there's barbecues, there's events going on.
It sounds awesome, but people will find a way to make it not happen. And I suppose it's kind of like if you're getting your food and your drink outside the stadium you're not going to buy it inside the stadium. So why would the vendors set up their Fritz's Wieners and all that sort of stuff? Because, you fill up, you're basically preloading with food and drink outside, and then you come in, you watch your game, and then you bugger off, right?
I guarantee you'd see more people show up, though.
Yeah.
Sell more tickets, less food.
But the fun police are going to say, nah, this shit ain't going to fly, man. And so, I don't know. I don't think we're going to see a time where ahead of the All Blacks game against Argentina at Sky Stadium, there's cars lined up and people are, Phil's got his braai out and he's cooking up the boerewors.
Do you reckon it's something Kiwis would get behind if it did happen? Or do you just don't see it being part of, like, you don't see you and your mates going down, an hour, 2 hours before the game, getting yourself set up and just being a part of the atmosphere?
We kind of get into other American traditions. Like, all of a sudden we're barring up about Black Friday sales. Like, I didn't know what a Black Friday sale was, and I probably still don't, but I think it's an American thing. Halloween, like, I took my kids around the block, and there are so many kids doing Halloween compared to what I used to do when I was a child. Like, I think American things are starting to filter through into New Zealand society, and I maybe it's to do with the fact that everything is so accessible these days. Like, you go on your phone and you can look at American sports stars and actresses and whatnot, and it's not as, like, far away as it once was. So yeah, maybe it will catch on. I can imagine you and your mates on the way to Sky Stadium parking up 2 hours before kickoff and ripping into it.
Heck yeah, I'd freaking love that. It'd be like if we all had, I guess it would be BYO maybe, like a box of Coronas, getting down on the concourse, get a spread out, and then you just waltz on in and you catch the train home, go pick your car up the next day. Happy days. I reckon you'd get so many people just actually buying into that, especially not having to buy food at the stadium. That would be a real pain point for the stadium, but a real good aspect to push to your fans.
So are you selling the food and drink out of your car, or just sharing it with mates? Like,
I think you just share around. Like, people get there. I think
so. The cost is on you.
Yeah, like, you just go. You spend a bit of money to have a bit of a party, I guess. Get your food set up. Others might just come up and be interested in what you're doing, and if they want to drink, have a drink, mate. Come sit down. We'll chew the fat against Argentina, and away you go.
All right. Well, look, I mean, you talk to whoever you need to down there, and maybe I'll talk to somebody at Go Media Stadium Mount Smart, and we can sort it out for an Auckland FC game.
Park up Go Media Mount Smart, right?
Yeah. Just in behind the Western Grandstand. So yeah, we could set it up in there.
Yeah. I'll talk to my guys. You talk to yours. I'll organise the bus as well. Down from Northern to the Black Knights versus Melbourne Victory.
That's going to sneak up on us real quick as well, because, I mean, look at the time. We're late November, and we're talking about a game that's a little over a month away, all right? So logistics,
Christmas is less than a month away.
Yeah.
That's going to fly. How's your Christmas shopping going?
Haven't done much. We'll figure it out online, I think.
Yeah, Black Friday.
Avoid the shops. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, America.
I think it's the day after Thanksgiving. I have no idea why it's Black Friday, but it's always the Friday after Thanksgiving for whatever reason.
I've got some American neighbours who are inviting us around for Thanksgiving dinner on Friday this week, so I'll ask them. There isn't a turkey. I think there's no turkey in November.
Oh,
yeah, here.
What? Right. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Anyway, that's what my wife said, that they can't have turkey there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, that would make for an interesting Thanksgiving. I guess you have to have chicken instead of the turkey. This week, Black Caps start their home summer against England. Thursday morning, Hagley Oval in Christchurch. Tuning in or no?
Yeah, I'll tune in. Can't wait to see Nossi back in the mix as well. And just see how they back up after that incredible series win against India in India. That's dreamland scenario stuff, eh? Beating India in India 3-0. Yeah. I know conditions are completely different here in New Zealand, but it's got to give us some confidence heading into that English series, eh?
Arguably more suitable for us, but I guess it's similar, you could say, for the English as well. I saw lots of people saying how us beating India was going to affect the Australia-India stuff, and we were just going to get talked down on. It was going to be luck, especially if Aussie just pumped them as well. But now India beating Australia as well. I think we might just be the best test team in the world at the moment.
I would not be shocked by that. Yeah.
I'll definitely be tuning in. We have Thanksgiving football, 3 games on Friday, plenty of it, but there's Champions League as well this weekend. During the week. I'm assuming you'll be watching that?
No, because I get lost in the shuffle of where all the football lives these days. You know, like I know that on Sky there's A-League and there's English Premier League. Like who's got the Champions League? Is it?
I don't know. I stream it.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, maybe you can hook me up with like an illegal link or something like that, and then I can watch it.
Yeah, I'll flick it to you off not the work email.
Yeah, please, and then I'll watch it. I know that Man City have got a game before they play Liverpool, so that might play them into some kind of form, or it could make them feel a whole lot worse.
Imagine
Do
them
they play
losing
Feyenoord
again.
or something?
What, in the Champions League?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just took note of Arsenal playing Sporting.
Of course you did.
Yeah. And I think that's tomorrow, so I'll be tuning in.
Right.
But imagine they lose 6 on the bounce and then go to Anfield, lose 7 in a row.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
Stuff of dreams.
Yeah, but like the anxiety in me builds. Like the longer they go without winning a game, you just know that by the time they get to Anfield, that's their opportunity to win a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not looking forward to that one.
We shall see. You'll be joining us on Thursday for the Friday podcast. I'm assuming we'll touch on some betting, and we'll just have a look at what we've got for the weekend. So hopefully, we had a terrible week last week, but we had a great week the week before. So it's kind of alternatively, you know.
Yeah,
so
cool.
we're in for a good one, I believe.
All right, sweet as, mate. Now, look, I'll be back if you need me, if you'll have me, if this was okay. I mean, look, I don't know about my performance or anything like that, or if we'll
do a
vibed
review
okay.
session, I think.
Yeah, so like, talk me through the review session, and yeah, we'll see about Thursday.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll book in some time. I might watch some film. I'll get back to you, and we might see you on Thursday.
So it's not a case of me calling you; like your people will reach out to me.
Yeah, I believe so.
Very good.
We'll just wait to hear from that. Other than that, thank you for joining. I do appreciate it. And we'll hopefully, maybe, see you on Thursday.
Yeah, I've got my fingers crossed, Charlie. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, and we will see you guys later as well.